Hey, back at it again. We're going to do a little something different, a little change of pace. 1969 C10. Why am I here? What am I looking at it for? I want to help you guys out, understand how to check out or repair the front suspension on your truck or car. They're all essentially the same, short, long arm suspension. You can use this to check out your Firebird, your pickup truck, just about every vehicle out there except for modern stuff, but we don't mess with that typically. But basically what I'm coming down to, the ball joints, tie rod ends, steering linkage, all your components don't necessarily have to replace at a certain mileage, but replace when they're worn out. How do you check when they're worn out? How do you inspect that? I'm going to show you the proper way to get this thing shook down, get a list of parts so you only replace what you have to, because, you know, hey, money doesn't grow on trees, and I do everything on a budget anyway. So anyway, our test wheel here, like I said, 1969 C10. Most of the suspension on this truck is original, so we might be able to find some bad parts on this. So let's dig into it. Let's get down here and talk business now. Obviously, we've got your suspension parts. We have a lower ball joint down here, tie rod, upper ball joint, pitman arm, and then we have control arm bushings, everything. But how do we check these things for play? That becomes a thing. They call this a short, long arm suspension. Upper control arm, lower control arm. And how this works, the spring is always pushing down here on this lower control arm. But to lift up this truck and jack it up and not support the control arm, it's actually going to put tension on the ball joints. What you have to do then is actually lift up the lower control arm and basically compress the spring. And at that point then, we don't have any load on our steering linkage and our ball joints, so we're going to determine which components are loose. So next to here, we'll roll a jack underneath here and I'll show you what we got. All right, now we got the jack underneath here. We'll start lifting it up. Now, you might be able to see things go here. And basically, it's going to get where the tires off the ground. Now, at this point, I have the weight of the vehicle on the control arm, the spring compressed. Now, there's no load or tension on these ball joints. And what's going to have to happen is you'll actually push and pull here on the top of the tire in and out. That's going to check your upper ball joint. Same thing, we're going to push and pull on the bottom tire. It's going to check the lower ball joint. Then we'll actually grab the tire here at the 3 and 9 o'clock position. We'll check our steering linkage. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and wiggle around and see what this ball joint's doing. Now I've got my helper Mike out here in the garage. So what he's going to do, he's going to push and pull on the top of the tire here. There should be no movement in this ball joint. You can actually see that moving back and forth, that grease boot moving. So this ball joint is absolutely no good whatsoever. And they're riveted in, so that one needs replaced. So we'll check the lower. Basically grab the bottom of the tire and push and pull on it. And we're still getting about the same thing. Quite a bit of movement out of that. Now the next thing, we move the tire side to side. Now there's nothing in the tire here. There's no movement up and down or side to side, but I'll tell you, something's not right. This is something I haven't really seen before. Check out that pitman arm. It's actually wiggling on the steering shaft on the gearbox right there. Somewhere in the life of this truck, someone didn't get that nut tight or something didn't go quite right. So this might need a steering gearbox. I'm going to do the same thing here to the other side here and see what's happening. But so far, we're striking out. Let's see if I can get it here nice and tight. Now, push and pull on the top of the tire, we'll probably get the same results, is my guess. Now I'm going to show you here, this control arm moving up and down in relationship to the ball joint, like kind of going like this. That ball joint is absolutely no good whatsoever on this side also. Now let's try the lower here and see if we get anything out. Just push and pull on the bottom there. You can actually watch the spindle move just ever so slightly. So that ball joint does have a little play too, but not nearly as bad as the other side. But something else to notice here, push and pull on top again. Look at this upper control arm bushing. It's actually moving too. So this needs control arm bushings, ball joints, and everything. Go ahead and hit it side to side. Now there's no grease boot left in this tire end, but it's actually not loose. May not be a bad idea to put a grease boot on it to keep some of the crud out, but that one's not loose. Our idler arm isn't moving, but the reason everything's wiggling is, check out that pitman arm again. That thing is all over the place. So this truck needs some front end work. Hey, so there you have it. The front of the C10, it broke. It needs just about every single suspension component replaced. The ball joints, control arm bushings. Doesn't need the tie rod ends. I call that steering linkage, but as for the suspension, it needs just about everything, unfortunately. But the thing about it is, I'm trying to save a few bucks and only replace the parts that were needed in this situation. Most of the time, you can shake the front end down of the car. You grab that tire, top and bottom, No movement in and out, doesn't need ball joints or control arm bushings, or move it side to side. No tie rods, pitman arm, or either arm. Well, in this case, well, we epically failed. So this would be a good instruction video how to put ball joints in a C10. So I may grab the camera back out and grab you guys to show you how to do this, because this is good information. A lot of the General Motors ball joint and suspension, very similar, so it's good information. And the other thing to keep in mind, in this case, this may not be a bad idea to go ahead and jump on something like Rock Auto or get on the old interweb and get a front end overhaul kit and just buy everything after all. It might be cheaper, because in this case, it needs about 80% of the parts anyway. So my goal is to maybe show you that you didn't have to replace all that stuff and save a few bucks, but unfortunately, this truck says, nope, I need everything done. So anyway, I'm gonna grab the camera. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do exactly next, but whatever it might be, hope you guys see you then. Of course, in the meantime, stay warm. It's about 20 degrees here, and I'm about to die of death, freezing to death. So anyway, I had enough of this. We'll get the camera back out next time, and we'll see you then.